You don't need a new personality. You don't need to fix your emotions. You need to stop letting them drive the car. Because right now, you're not suffering from feelings. You're suffering from how fast you believe them. And if you stay with me for the next few minutes, you'll notice something almost unsettling. Your emotions will still show up, but they won't feel like a threat anymore. They'll feel like weather, passing, changing, and finally, not in charge. That's the quiet secret Buddhism has been pointing to for over 2,000 years. Your peace doesn't come from getting rid of storms. It comes from realizing you were never the storm to begin with. Now, here's the uncomfortable question. If you're not the storm, why does it feel so personal? Why does anger feel like me? Why does anxiety feel like my truth? Why does shame speak in your voice? Tonight, we're going to take that apart, not with motivational slogans, not with toxic positivity, not with just be grateful. We're going to do it the Buddhist way, slow, clear, practical, and we'll go deeper than most people ever do. Because the real trap isn't emotion, it's identity. It's the moment a passing feeling gets a name tag and becomes a person. And once that happens, suffering multiplies. So let's begin where most people never look. Not at the big breakdown. Not at the trauma. Not at the dramatic moment. At the split second. The tiny gap between what happens and what your mind adds. Because that gap is where your freedom is hiding. And if you can learn to see it, you can change your entire emotional life without changing your entire life. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Maybe you were alone at night. The lights were off. Your phone was face down. The world was quiet, and yet your mind was loud. You weren't fighting a real problem in that moment. You were fighting a replay, a loop, a scene your brain kept editing. And every time it replayed, it didn't just repeat the pain, it upgraded it. It added narration. It added judgment. It added prophecy. It added a verdict. That's why Buddhism doesn't call emotions the enemy. It calls confusion the enemy, because confusion is what turns pain into a prison. There's an old teaching, simple, sharp. It says life shoots you with one arrow. And then, almost every time you shoot yourself with a second one, the first arrow is the actual event, the breakup, the rejection, the bad news, the mistake, the awkward moment. The first arrow hurts. It's real. It's human. But the second arrow, that one is optional. That one is the story you keep firing after the event is over. I'm not good enough. This always happens. I'll never recover. They ruined me. I'm broken. And the mind does this so automatically that you don't even notice you're holding the bow. So here's the first shift, a shift so small, it feels stupid, until you feel what it does to your nervous system. When pain arises, name the first arrow. Silently, gently. Pain is here. Not I am pain. Not my life is pain. Just pain is here. That's it. Because the moment you say I am, you fuse, you merge, you become the emotion. And fusion is what turns emotion into identity. But if you can keep it, as pain is here, you create distance without becoming cold, space without dissociation. This is the beginning of mastery, not control, not suppression, mastery. Now, most people hear this and think, okay, but how? Because emotions don't politely arrive and wait for you to label them. They rush in, they hijack, they make your body their stage. So Buddhism starts with the body, because the body tells the truth first, before you explain, before you justify, before you spiral. The body reacts, the chest tightens, the jaw clenches, the stomach turns, the throat closes. And if you can learn to meet the body first, you stop the story from becoming a wildfire. Here's a practice you can do anywhere, right now. When you notice a strong feeling, don't ask, why am I like this? Ask, where is it in the body? Not philosophically, literally. Where, chest, throat, belly, face. Then don't try to relax it. Don't force it to go away. Just stay close, like you're sitting beside a scared child. Not to fix them, just to be there. And you'll notice something strange. When you stop treating the sensation like a problem, it changes. Sometimes it softens, sometimes it moves, sometimes it fades, and sometimes it stays. But it stops feeling like a threat, because your resistance was the amplifier. Your fear of the feeling was the fuel. This is why so many people feel stuck. They're not stuck in emotion. They're stuck in resistance to emotion. They're not suffering because sadness exists. They're suffering because sadness isn't allowed to exist. Now we go deeper. Because even if you learn to sit with sensation, the mind still does what it does. It labels, it interprets, it guesses, it predicts, and this is where the next trap appears meaning. The mind hates raw discomfort with no meaning. So it invents meaning. It says, this pain means I'm failing. This anxiety means something terrible is coming. This loneliness means I'm unlovable. But Buddhism asks you to separate sensation from interpretation. Because sensation is real. Interpretation is optional. And most of your suffering comes from treating interpretation like reality. So try this. When a painful thought arrives, don't argue, don't debate, don't try to think positive. Just label it. Thinking, that's it. Not, I shouldn't think this. Not, this is bad. Just thinking. Because that label breaks the spell. It reminds you a thought is appearing, not a truth being delivered. And once you see thought as an event, you stop treating it like a command. Now let's take a step that sounds philosophical, but is actually practical. Buddhism says, what you call me is not a single solid thing. It's a process, a bundle, a flowing set of parts. And the reason this matters is simple. If you think there is a solid me, then every emotion becomes personal. Every feeling becomes an identity statement. Every moment becomes a trial. But if you begin to see yourself as a process, emotions become movements inside the process, not verdicts, not definitions. There's a map Buddhism uses to explain this. It breaks the self into 5 moving elements, not as a belief system, as a way to observe your experience clearly. First, the body. Second, raw feeling tone. Third, perception labeling. Fourth, mental habits, your patterns. Fifth, awareness itself, what knows all of this. This matters because most people think an emotion is one thing, like anger. But anger isn't one thing. Anger is heat in the body, an unpleasant tone, a label, a story, a habit, and then the awareness that notices it. If you can see the pieces, you stop being swallowed by the whole. It's like taking apart a machine. It looked powerful because it was one big noisy thing. But once you open it, you see gears, wires, small parts. And small parts don't terrify you the way a monster does. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, try this quietly body. Feeling tone, label, habit, awareness. You don't have to do it perfectly. Just touch the parts and notice what happens. The emotion becomes less mystical, less absolute, less personal, because you're no longer trapped inside it. You're observing it, and that shift observer instead of victim is everything. Awenlani 2. Now, let's talk about attachment, because even after you learn to observe emotions, you'll notice another sneaky kind of suffering, not from pain, from clinging to comfort, clinging to outcomes, clinging to how things should be. Most emotional spirals are not caused by what happened. They're caused by the collision between reality and expectation. You expected them to understand. You expected the plan to work. You expected yourself to be over it by now. You expected peace to stay. And when it didn't, you didn't just feel disappointment. You felt betrayal. Because expectation makes you feel entitled to a certain reality. And when reality refuses, the mind panics. This is where non-attachment is misunderstood. People think it means not caring. It doesn't. It means caring without gripping, loving without choking, trying without needing. It means you can want something without letting your worth depend on it. Because when your worth depends on outcomes, life becomes a casino and your nervous system becomes an addict. So practice this sentence, I care, and I can let it move. That's non-attachment, not coldness, not apathy, but flexibility, a hand open, not a fist. Now here's a twist most people miss. Even peace can become an attachment. You meditate, you feel calm, and then you try to keep calm. You start chasing calm. You start fearing disturbance. And suddenly, your spirituality becomes another way to control life. That's the paradox. The mind will cling to anything that feels safe, even stillness, even clarity, even letting go. So the practice isn't to hold peace. The practice is to stop holding, to stop gripping anything as your identity. Now, we go into something even more powerful. A concept that sounds strange, but changes everything when you actually feel it: emptiness. Not emptiness as nothing matters. Emptiness as nothing is fixed. Nothing stands alone. Everything arises because of causes and conditions, including emotions. So when fear arises, it's not you. It's conditions, sleep, stress, memories, uncertainty, old patterns, biology, a trigger, a thought, a body sensation, a meaning, a forecast. All of that forms a cloud, and you called the cloud me. But when you see it as conditions, you stop blaming yourself for having weather, and you stop obeying the weather as if it were destiny. This one insight can soften shame immediately. Because shame says, this feeling proves who I am. Emptiness says, this feeling is a temporary pattern, and temporary patterns can change, not by force, by shifting conditions. That's why Buddhism focuses so much on awareness, because awareness changes conditions. The moment you see clearly, you stop feeding confusion. You stop feeding second arrows. You stop feeding the spiral. Now let's talk about something that explains Why you keep repeating the same emotional loops even after you understand them. Because knowledge isn't the issue. You can understand something and still react. You can read every book and still explode. Why? Because patterns have momentum. Buddhism calls this momentum karma, not punishment, not fate. Momentum. Grooves in the mind carved by repetition. If you've reacted with defensiveness 1,000 times, your body will choose it before your mind can debate it. If you've escaped discomfort with distraction for years, your hand will reach for the phone before you even notice loneliness. That's karma, not moral judgment, mechanical momentum. And the good news is the same thing that carved the groove can carve a new one. Not in one heroic day, in 100 small moments. A pause before speaking. A breath before replying. One extra second before you escape. One honest look at the feeling tone. One gentle response to the inner critic. These are not small changes. They are karma shifts. Now, here's something practical. If you want to see your karma clearly, ask, what do I do when I'm uncomfortable? Do you explain? Do you attack? Do you withdraw? Do you numb? Do you perform? Do you overthink? Your answer is your groove. And once you see the groove, you can stop pretending it's your personality. It's just a groove. Now, Buddhism goes even deeper and points to 3 forces that keep these grooves alive. 3 poisons: craving, aversion, confusion. Craving says, this moment is not enough. So you chase, you cling, you scroll, you plan, you grasp. Aversion says, this moment must go away. So you resist, you judge, you blame, you harden. Confusion says, I can't see clearly. So you believe thoughts. You confuse emotion with identity. You build stories and call them truth. If you watch your emotional suffering closely, you'll see one of these poisons underneath. And the antidotes are simple, but not easy. For craving generosity. Not just giving money, giving space, giving patience, giving presence. It trains the mind that it's not starving. For aversion, patience, not passive, spacious. The willingness to stay with discomfort without burning everything down. For confusion, wisdom, not ideas, direct seeing, seeing sensation, seeing thought, seeing impermanence, seeing the difference between first arrow and second. These antidotes are not nice. They are strong because they break the habit. Now at this point, many people hit a wall. They say, okay, I get it, but when I'm in the storm, I forget everything. Exactly. So, Buddhism gives you an earlier place to intervene, before emotion becomes a story. It starts with what's called the feeling tone, the tiny instant of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral that arises before the mind builds a narrative. This is the spark. The moment your system decides, I like this or I don't like this, most of your suffering begins right there, because pleasant becomes craving, unpleasant becomes aversion, neutral becomes boredom and unconsciousness. But if you can become mindful at the level of tone, you catch the chain early. You stop being one step too late. So the practice is simple. When something happens, anything, notice the tone, pleasant, unpleasant. Neutral, name it softly. That's it. And then just breathe with it. Don't add a story. Don't rush to fix. Don't rush to escape. Just feel the tone as tone. This is like noticing the first drop of rain before the flood. If you catch it early, the whole day changes. Now let's go somewhere people rarely go in modern self-help death. Not as darkness, as clarity. There's a Buddhist practice of remembering death, not to be morbid, to stop wasting your mind, because when you think you have endless time, you cling harder, you argue longer, you carry grudges like trophies, you let small problems become life problems. But when you remember that everything ends, your priorities sharpen. You ask, is this worth my energy? You soften faster. You forgive sooner. You stop needing to be right. You start needing to be real. And here's the wild part. This practice doesn't make you colder. It makes you more tender. Because you realize you don't get unlimited moments with anyone, not even yourself. So you stop abusing your own heart with constant war. You stop postponing peace. Now, after death contemplation, something often appears. Silence. Not awkward silence. Not empty silence. Noble silence. The kind of silence that doesn't demand explanation. The kind of silence where your emotions can finally finish their sentence. Because a lot of your suffering isn't from emotion itself. It's from the constant management of emotion, the constant narration, the constant performance, the constant trying to be understood. Silence removes the stage, and without the stage, the drama loses fuel. In silence, you discover something almost unbelievable. Some emotions dissolve when you stop talking about them. Not because you buried them, because you stopped rehearsing them. Resentment weakens when it doesn't get retold. Anxiety softens when it isn't constantly analyzed. Sadness becomes cleaner when it isn't judged. Silence becomes a mirror. and the mirror doesn't argue. It reflects. Now, this is where many people expect Buddhism to say, "So stay silent forever." It doesn't. It says learn silence so your words become clean, so you stop speaking from poison, so you stop speaking from second arrows, so you stop speaking to escape discomfort, and instead you speak from presence, from clarity, from intention. Now we enter a practice that sounds scary in modern culture: renunciation. People hear that and think it means giving up life. It doesn't. It means giving up the emotional burden of needing every door open, needing every outcome perfect, needing every choice to guarantee a future. Renunciation is letting go of the fantasy that one perfect decision will save you from uncertainty. Because most anxiety is not about what's happening. It's about trying to control what might happen. Renunciation says, "I will choose, and I will release the need for certainty." That's how you stop carrying 10 futures in your head. That's how you stop living in what if. And when that burden drops, you meet what remains: vulnerability, rawness, the places you've been protecting. And this is where Buddhism makes a move that changes everything. It doesn't ask you to control pain. It asks you to meet pain with compassion, not pity, not self-indulgence. Warmth. The kind of warmth that tells the nervous system you're safe to feel. Because a lot of trauma stays alive, not because the event is still happening, but because your system learned that feeling is dangerous. So, it tightens, it braces, it resists. Compassion does the opposite. It softens, it stays. It says, "This hurts, and I'm here. If you do nothing else from this whole journey, do this once." When pain arises, put a hand on your chest, not dramatically, just gently, and say, "This is hard." Then say, "May I be kind to myself in this." That's not a cute affirmation. That's retraining the reflex. That's planting new karma. Now, let's land this into a single thread you can carry into your next hard moment. Here's the chain most people live inside. Something happens. Tone arises. Story forms. Identity grips. Reaction explodes. Regret follows. Then the mind replays it for weeks, but the Buddhist path offers a different chain. Something happens. Tone arises. You notice it. You breathe. You feel the body. You label thinking. You remember first arrow, second arrow. You release the grip. You respond from presence. That's it. That's freedom. Not a life with no emotions. A life where emotions don't own you. Now, before we finish, let me ask you something that may sting a little. What if the version of you that suffers the most is the version of you that keeps insisting everything must make sense right now? What if the need for immediate clarity is part of the trap? Because some emotions are not puzzles to solve. They are waves to witness. And the more you try to solve them while you're inside them, the more you feed them. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is this: feel it, name it, and stop adding. Stop adding story. Stop adding identity. Stop adding prophecy. Stop adding a second arrow. And here's the final twist. When you practice this long enough, you begin to notice a quiet presence underneath all of it. Not excitement, not relief. A deeper stillness. A sense that even in chaos, something in you is untouched. Not because you're special, because that something isn't a thing. It's awareness, and awareness does not panic. It does not cling. It does not need to be right. It simply sees. So the question isn't, how do I get rid of my emotions? The question is, can I learn to live as the one who sees instead of the one who reacts? And if you start practicing that, just a little, your whole life changes without looking like it changed. People will think you got calmer. They'll think you got stronger. They'll think life got easier. But you'll know the truth. Life is still life. The first arrow still comes. The difference is, you stopped firing the second. Now, here's where I'll leave you. Tonight, the next time an emotion rises, don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to explain it. Don't rush to become it. Just ask quietly, is this the first arrow or the second? And if it's the second, set the bow down. Then breathe. Then feel. Then let it pass like weather. Because the moment you can do that, even once, you'll realize something that can't be unrealized. You were never trapped by emotion. You were trapped by the belief that emotion was you. And the next step, the one that changes everything, is learning what remains when you stop believing that. That's where we go next.